Last time on Insights via Bach, we looked at the C major prelude of Bach from the first book of the Well-Tempered Clavier. And what I tried to show in that episode was how, in fact, the whole prelude is constructed on a very simple harmonic foundation, which we learned to call thorough bass. Many of the other preludes in Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier are also based on such a harmonic foundation. And the prelude in C minor is no exception. Let's listen to a short excerpt of that. In fact, if you had listened to the prelude in C major, you probably would have recognized a lot of these harmonies. And that's because Bach has used something like the same foundation for the C major prelude to construct his C minor prelude. There are some important differences, but first, let's just dive once more into harmony. So first, I'm going to play a sort of thorough bass realization of the bass line of the C minor prelude. And it sounds like this. So there were a lot of the same harmonic tricks that Bach uses in the C major prelude. We have a sort of pedal point progression at the beginning to establish the key of C minor in this case. And then we have a sequence involving dissonant 6/4-2 chords, just as Bach had used in the C major prelude. But there's something different about this prelude. And that something different has to do with how Bach manages texture. In contrast to the calm, relaxed character of the C major prelude, the C minor prelude feels tempestuous, unsettled, and full of tension. What creates that feeling? I think part of it, at least, is how Bach manages the introduction of non-harmonic tones. What are non-harmonic tones? Non-harmonic tones, as the name sort of implies, are notes that go outside of the harmony or outside of the chord. And so, for example, in the opening C minor chord of the C minor prelude, we have the notes C, E flat, and G that together make up the C minor chord. But Bach adds notes other than these harmonic tones. Bach adds a D in his right hand, and in his left hand, an F. Taken together, if we play it very, very slowly, it sounds like this. Notice how these non-harmonic tones behave. They move away from their chord tones. In this case, the chord tones are E flat in the right hand and G in the left hand. And in this case, they each move down by step. And after being dissonant for just a short moment, they return home upwards to their chord tones. Because of this, because of this movement away from and back to a chord tone, we call these kinds of non-harmonic tones neighbor tones. The C minor prelude is chock full of neighbor tone figures. In fact, Bach includes them in pretty much every bar of the piece as a way of enlivening the texture. Just to get a feeling for how much we lose if we strip away those neighbor tones, I'll play a rendition of the first several bars of the piece entirely without those neighbor tones. Just chord tones, just harmony. And now that same passage again, with the neighbor tones returned to their rightful place. Finally, it can be a kind of fun experiment to take the figuration one finds in one prelude from the Well-Tempered Clavier and see if it can be made to work within the harmonic context of another prelude. And so I'll propose to do just this. I'll take this wonderful neighbor tone pattern that we've discovered in the C minor prelude and bring it back to the C major prelude that we heard several weeks ago. You'll hear how the character of this C major prelude is transformed as a result.